To the federal government, we're KWKQ-FM Graham Breckenridge. But to our friends, we're Q94.7.
Travis is a sports encyclopedia with a mind like a scientist and an arm like a cannon. Rick is a former mime, Golden Voice broadcasting psycho. And Joe is a freewheeling wild card with zero sports knowledge to speak of. Together, they make the crew of Offsides. Now on Q94.7. Brought to you by The Oil Pit, D&J's Polaris, Womack Construction, and Texoma Foam Installation Services.
All right, good morning again to you right here on Q94.7. It's time for Offsides again.
Yes, sir.
We're a little bit off.
Victory Saturday, though.
Victory
Rick.
Saturday, though, is a huge victory Saturday as we're celebrating the giant win. One of the when you've only played a team that I think they played 26 times in history, and now 27, and now the overall record is 15-12. The Steers are 3 games back.
Yeah, that's going to be a rivalry game, just because both teams are taking a little bit from each other, and making it fun. And it was fun last night, and man, I think that game really boosted my confidence in the Steers, especially after we got off the air, got home. I started thinking about who Abilene Wylie was, and what they were capable of, even though they've got some pieces that are kind of subpar. And I was just talking with people. It kind of got me real excited. So we'll talk a little bit about that coming up.
Well, it kind of blew me away last night, and after the game's over, we went down the field. We talked to some of the players, and I'm talking the key players of the game.
Sure.
We talked to the Hugheses, and we talked to
Dylan.
We talked to Ben. We talked to all these guys, and every one of them had the same thing to say. Every one of them said, we did not play a real good game tonight.
Yeah, and they didn't.
Ben said we didn't have it going last night. Ben said, he had a couple of quarters that were pretty good. He admitted to us he didn't have it going last night. Dylan said the same thing. And for the Steers, all of them to say, we really didn't have a good game, but to come out and dominate, and I mean dominate Abilene Wylie the way they did. And one of the coaches last night told me, he said, if it hadn't been for all the momentum stops, talking about the penalties and stuff like that, he said we probably could have scored 50 points on them.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it one bit. And that's the kind of stuff that gets you a little more excited about this team. I mean, it was Argyle who we all look up to, and we're all just like, oh, we can't, I mean, at least some people are like, oh, Graham can't touch Argyle. That's okay. They're in a different region. Let's just, let it play out. But last night got me thinking, I think we can hang with the Argyles of the world. I think we can. I mean, I really think that we could give them, a war. And so that's exciting. That's exciting to see kind of your mentality about your team change because of a game.
Hey, Joe Swedhofer here with us, too. He's talking to Travis. Joe, one thing I want to know, you were on the field. You saw the first 2 games, Brownwood, Mineral Wells, and we saw, it is what it is. Brownwood, Mineral Wells, not the greatest teams in the whole wide world. Was the mood, the speed, the intensity last night, was it a little different in that game than you saw in the other 2 games?
Yeah, I think the intensity was a little bit higher, especially, coming off that Brownwood game where we scored 4 touchdowns in the first quarter. You start to get a little loose, and I think last night, just the back and forth, I mean, those first 2 series were so back and forth that it was a more focused, more not that the sidelines are loosey-goosey by any means, but it was a lot more intense, a lot more focused sideline from the players, coaches, the whole 9 yards, just because, again, we had come off 2 weeks where we pretty much scored at will, and we all knew that coming into this game, Abilene Wylie was going to be a tougher team, and not as a lot more focused on the sidelines last night, in the beginning and so forth.
Something I got to thinking about after this game is over with. Okay, we had a couple of games, Mineral Wells, Brownwood, that wasn't the toughest games in the whole wide world. You come to last night. Yeah. Last night was a brawl. From the we had helmets flying off. We had personal fouls every time you turn around.
Oh,
I mean, this stuff was going on.
We may have to get into that a little later.
Yeah, we'll get into that here in just a bit. But you've got 3 games coming up. You've got Breckenridge, you got Springtown, and you got Bridgeport. Breckenridge is a big rival game, so you know that game, the intensity is going to be there, at least from the fan level. It's going to be student level, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Really don't have a whole lot of history with Springtown, but Springtown's kind of having a down year.
Yeah. I like to call that game the Travis Bowl, but go on.
The Travis Bowl. You've got the Bridgeport game coming up, which is a homecoming game, which is always a distraction type thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to say that any of these next 3 games could be trap games, but, you know, you want to, after a big high like last night, you want to try to stay on that level. I guess that's what I'm getting at as championship teams. And since you've been in that position, Travis, on a team that went to a state championship, you've got to keep that intensity up. You can't ever let down against anybody.
Well, you know what? We were guilty of falling in those trap games. We lost 2 district games. And we made it to the state championship, lost 5 games all season. So that tells you that those trap games really got us. And they can get good teams, you know. And I thought, you know, I've said all along that I thought this Breckenridge game for the Graham Steers was going to be a really a trap game. I think Breckenridge has a good young team now. Now that I've kind of seen that play out, that was kind of a preseason thought. Now I've seen it kind of play out. I think that Breckenridge has a lot of holes. Let's just say that. I think the Steers should be good to go in there, score some early points, and let people rest and get healthy. But I want to clarify something I said a little earlier, not to get too off topic, Rick.
Right.
But you know, I said that my mentality on the Steers changed. Well, I've thought the Steers were a top 10 team, you know, in the state of Texas all along. But I just want to say that, you know, last year it was really the Glen Rose game for me that made me think, man, this team's going to go a good ways, because we had seen the Abilene loss earlier in the season in 2012,
right, and
I didn't know if they had grown since then. So this win has proven to me that they have grown. But back to the I just didn't want anybody to think that I didn't believe in the Steers' ability to win games. So
well, of course, and I looking at the way they won last night. I remember Jimmy Johnson one time was talking about, I think it was the 92 Cowboys. They had a game against the L.A. Rams, or the St. Louis Rams, whatever they were at the time, and they got beat in that game, and he was talking about how teams can get themselves up off the mat and keep rolling to be championship teams. Well, I kind of think last night the Steers a little bit, with all the penalties, with all the momentum swings, with all the stuff going on, the drama, I guess you'd say, around that game, kind of picked themselves off the mat in the second half and showed what a championship team can do.
You know, it was really good to see that last night too. You know, just going off of this season alone, you know, you had the first 2 games where it was an offensive showdown where, you know, Graham was going out and just putting points up like crazy. Well, last night it proved that, you know, it was going to be we're going to have to approach it a little bit differently. The points were not coming as easy, but just like you said, the defense basically said, we're going to take care of you boys tonight, and just picked them up off the mat. I mean, hit after hit, pick-off after pick-off. It's good to see that, not necessarily that the offense wasn't rolling by any means, but you were going up against a team that was not going to let you have it as easy as the first 2 teams. And the defense, it's great to see that the defense can then come in and say, hey, boys, we got this one tonight. We'll take care of you. And just kind of shows what a well-rounded team they have out there, shows you how well the coaches have prepared this Graham Steers team to, you know, play the game that's presented to them. Don't get too big up. Don't get too big down. And get out there and just get the job done.
You know, 14-7 at halftime last night. Steers get the ball back in third quarter. I was feeling pretty good about things, and then pick six took place, and it was 14-14. Did you feel a little deflated at that time? I mean, I felt like, oh man, it's on now.
Well, the pick six, you got to remember, that was followed up by a Dylan Gonzalez fumble, and it gave, you know, Wylie the ball in Graham territory to essentially drive and get the go-ahead score. So it was 14-14, Wylie with the ball in Graham territory, and things didn't look very good. But it was, you know, all night long, like Lionel Richie said, it was the Graham defense that just stepped up. Yeah, that's right, Joe.
Wow, a Lionel Richie sports analogy. I was really happy.
Hey, I've been listening to Joe's iPod, and that stuff's getting in my head. But
did you hear the Rod Stewart also?
Yeah, okay, definitely.
Anne Murray.
Oh yeah, all that stuff good. That slow, contemporary, 70s rock.
Right, very good stuff.
No, but it was the defense that kept coming all night long. And Rick, this is something I thought about, and Joe, and y'all might agree, y'all might not agree, but I remember last season when Graham went to Wylie and we watched that game, and it seemed like the defense was kind of reacting to what Abilene Wylie wanted to do, and they weren't pushing the offense to do anything. They couldn't, I mean, they just couldn't get over that hump where you go from reacting to enforcing your will. It seemed like all night Graham decided that, hey, they're going to be vulnerable here and here, and it seemed like the Graham defense attacked it all night long. Did you feel that same way?
Well, yeah. I mean, it seemed like when it almost was to me like whatever Wylie was fixing to do, Graham knew it was coming.
Yeah. I
they knew what was coming on the running game. They knew what was coming on the passing game. And, man, they were keeping that pressure on that Frampton guy last night.
And I think that happens a lot just because you've got such good scouts, especially in Coach defensive coordinator Clay McChristian. I mean, this guy, I know he watches tons of film, and so does the entire coaching staff. And they find things that can tip them off to what teams are doing. But it seemed like, man, first of all, you got great pressure from your defensive line and your linebacking core, and then you had guys, you had just ball hawks in the secondary. And so it was really just get pressure on the quarterback, force him because he's going to make a dumb mistake and throw the ball up in the air for grabs, and we took advantage of that a lot.
We're going to take a break here from a couple of our sponsors. Come back, and we're going to talk about who sparked that defense last night. Stick around as you listen to Offsides here on Q94.7.
It's factory-authorized clearance spots at D&J's Polaris. Now's your chance to save up to $1,000 and receive 2.99% financing through September 30th. Save on Polaris Ranger, the absolute best side-by-side utility vehicles in the industry, or the Polaris Sportsman ATV. It's all waiting for you at D&J's Polaris, Southview at Elm and Graham. Now with up to $1,000 savings and financing as low as 2.99. ATVs and side-by-side vehicles can be hazardous to operate. Polaris adult models for ages 16 and over. Always wear a helmet and be sure to take a training course. Polaris ATVs and side-by-side vehicles are not intended for on-road use. Financing with approved credit.
Maximize your greatest investment with the best insulation and roofing products available. Texoma Foam Insulation Services offers these benefits of ThermoSeal insulation. Reduce your energy bills. Enjoy cleaner and healthier indoor air. Improve your home's value and enjoy consistent temperatures. To discover more from ThermoSeal Insulation of the Future, call Texoma Foam Insulation Services today at 940-549-3626 or visit their website at texomafoam.com.
It's times like, well, now that we need to hold on to our vehicles as long as we can. And the Oil Pit has been helping you keep your car or truck for years. Literally. The Hughes family has been working hard to keep your family on the road and safe with oil changes, transmission fluids, and fluid level and tire pressure checks. And that family tradition Tom Hughes started years ago. Stop by the Oil Pit on 4th and Graham or call 940-549-5136.
At Jake Womack Construction, Cornerstone Pools, the goal is to not only help you design and build your dream home, but to make the process easy and enjoyable for you. They're a full-service design-build company with a wide range of experience. Jake Womack can help you with all phases of new home construction or remodeling, procuring suitable land, architecture and design, building your home and landscaping your yard. Call 940-549-9944. Jake Womack Construction, helping you build your dreams.
You're listening to Offsides with Rick, Joe, and Travis on Q94.7.
All right, welcome back to Offsides here on your Lincoln Leader, Q94.7. Keeping it talking, keeping it real here. Talking some football on a Saturday morning, looking back on a Friday night big-time win by the Graham Steers. Last night as they took out the Abilene Wylie Bulldogs. And defensively last night, Steers played about as good as you're going to get the second half. Sparking that defense. Now, something that we were talking about was the defense. I mean, my feeling is on the defense last night, it was Spurhearn that was kind of really holding everybody together. I saw him and Husky Melendez both kind of going up and down the line, kind of, hitting the guys on the back, getting their attention, stuff like that. We saw Spurhearn a lot of times getting in after the quarterback. We saw him going after the ball carrier. We saw Husky making you got what he was doing up the middle. You got Tiny D, Dustin McQuarter last night coming up with a huge interception.
Boy, and to talk about that interception, it's funny when we talk about Tiny D. I guess just the name, Tiny D, you know. He's such a little guy, isn't he?
He's so dainty and petite, you know.
So when you have Tiny D coming up with a pick when he did, we've talked about, I would say, the theme of the show and then the theme of the game last night is just momentum swings. And momentum swings are huge in a football game because it really drives each team when that momentum swings your way. And when Tiny D picked up that pick, I mean, Abilene was driving, and they were looking to, if I'm not mistaken, to take a go-ahead score.
Yeah, it was 14-14 at the time.
Yeah, looking to take that go-ahead score off that fumble, and just to come up with a pick at that time, coming out of half, we were up 14-7. They got that pick six, and momentum swung back Wylie's way. And when he picks that pick, I mean, it's just you can feel it. I think a lot of Graham said, "Oh my gosh, here it comes! They're going to go up 21-14. We're going to have to come back." And he picks that pick off, and it's just okay. Now we're all right. Now we're back again. And you mentioned about Spur coming through the line. There were so many times last night that you saw a Graham defender just going straight through that line to go after that quarterback. And talking a little bit about Abilene Wylie's quarterback. I mean, he just couldn't. He just couldn't feel it last night. He couldn't come alive, And I wonder if he feels like we do, that it was just the Graham defense that kept him running all night.
Yeah, he was rocking and rolling all over the place last night because, I mean, the Steer defense had him going. But, looking at the intensity of what the Steers were bringing on defense last night, it was just really cool that whenever you could see, and you could see out there, Tiny D last night, great job, but you could tell he was hurting last night. I mean, he was laying on the ground a little bit after the plays. He was moving around slow, but he gutted it out last night and stayed out there.
Yeah.
You saw what he was doing. You saw what some of the other guys were doing. Husky had to be probably one of the tiredest guys on the field last night. You got a guy like Husky. What is he, 5'11"? I know he can bench press about 400 pounds, but, you got those big old boys leaning on you all that long. Man, that gets to your back after a while. Those guys stayed out there and gutted it out, and I was really proud of the way the defense played last night about Spur and all those guys said, okay, boys, one more play. Come on, one more play.
It was a tough game. It was a game where you could tell that those guys, especially the ones who experienced the loss last season, they weren't coming out of that game if they needed a leg amputated. It was that kind of performance. It was all heart. It was a beautiful thing to see from a Graham perspective. It was just fun to watch, guys it was fun to see that side of the team. We haven't had a chance to see that yet because we've, kind of played dogs. And now we're playing a team that's, pretty decent in Abilene Wylie. At least, they do some things really well. And it was just fun to see what this team is made of, inside when it comes down to, when it's time to grind your teeth and get after somebody.
One thing last night when Joe was talking to Ben Davis, Ben said, we have never beat Abilene Wylie. This team, his senior group, has never beat Abilene Wylie since not even since junior high.
Yeah, he said that was pretty crazy. I've never beat Abilene Wylie. And that was such a telling statement. It was just like, and that I think that speaks to a program. You have a senior class that's never beat this senior class from Abilene Wylie. Mm-hmm. But, you've got enough good juniors and good sophomores and, to make a difference and make this team better than Abilene Wylie at the varsity level, the only level that really matters. So
before we get to the state scores, I want to bring up one other thing about last night's game that last year we saw in the game at Wylie. You remember how Ben Davis was running for his life?
Oh, absolutely.
He was running for his life the whole night. Last night, a offensive line, Coach Merritt, talking about juniors and sophomores, last offensive line, did a really good job keeping the defensive line. I mean, we had some sacks last night. We haven't seen those all year long, but I'm going to tell you something. Ben Davis was not running for his life. He had time last night to get the ball downfield to his receivers.
And I talked to Merritt after the game, and he talked about, he had some guys in there, and he said Wylie was throwing some stuff at him that they had never they had never seen before. I mean, he's just got some youth in there, and so he said Wylie was throwing some junk as far as difficult blitzes and things to pick up, but he was proud of his team. They. Sure, okay, the first time they saw it, they'd lose it. But after that first time, they'd know where to be. They'd stand in there, pick up their guy, and figure the whole thing out. So a really impressive job, especially these young guys on the offensive line, just adjusting to what they're seeing and not letting certain things get them twice.
All right, we're going to take another break here, and we'll come back. You got your statewide scores we're going to talk about, and one very interesting score that we need to talk about.
Going on in Hershey.
That's right. We're going to be talking about that one coming up, so stick around for that. You're listening to Offsides on Q94.7.
Maximize your greatest investment with the best insulation and roofing products available. Texoma Foam Insulation Services offers these benefits of ThermoSeal insulation. Reduce your energy bills. Enjoy cleaner and healthier indoor air. Improve your home's value and enjoy consistent temperatures. To discover more from ThermoSeal Insulation of the Future, call Texoma Foam Insulation Services today at 940-549-3626 or visit their website at texomafoam.com.
It's times like, well, now that we need to hold on to our vehicles as long as we can. And the Oil Pit has been helping you keep your car or truck for years. Literally. The Hughes family has been working hard to keep your family on the road and safe with oil changes, transmission fluids, and fluid level and tire pressure checks. And that family tradition Tom Hughes started years ago. Stop by the Oil Pit on 4th in Graham or call 940-549-5136.
It's Offsides with Joe, Travis, and Rick on Q94.7.
All right, 9:21 in the morning as we keep it rolling, keeping it real, talking some high school football here on your Saturday morning. Brought to you by the fine folks at Jake Womack Construction, D&J Polaris, the Oil Pit, and Texoma Foam, and having a good time talking football. All right, statewide scores, boys, as some of the teams that we've played or some that we may be seeing along the way. Brownwood got their first win last night in a 46-43 barn burner over Snyder. Snyder came into the game with no wins. Mm-hmm. Brownwood came into the game with no wins. And Brownwood was able to put 46 points last night.
Yeah, I've decided that both of those teams are just really down. I mean, I haven't looked a whole lot at Snyder. Of course, we played Brownwood, and I think it's a down year for both of those towns.
Now, here's one that scares me to death. Decatur took out Burke Burnett last night, 41-38.
I need Burke Burnett to be a little better than that.
Yes, we need Burke Burnett to be a little bit better than that.
Because I need, before the season started, I thought I was just going to have to, just hope that Hershey was going to be good enough to beat Iowa Park. Now I have no worries at all with Hershey, and we'll talk about that coming up. But I'm worried about Burke Burnett. Are they going to be able to pull a win off against IP? We'll just have to find out because I want the Steers to go small school. Yeah,
we don't want to see that. Team coming up for the Steers and Springtown over Fort Worth Trimble Tech last night, 53-0. I don't know what Trimble Tech's got. I don't know anything about their team or anything like that. But Springtown's been up and down last night, back up again.
Yeah, I think Springtown, just like you said, I think they have some flashing games. I think they have some threats. They can be, scary in some areas. But as far as putting it all together for four quarters, I don't know that they have that. And so, I think that's going to be a good test. It'll be the best test that I think the Steers will have until Vernon, probably in the regular season. But other than that, Trimble Tech just must be real bad.
This score last night, I caught a little bit of this one, didn't get the whole shebang. This was kind of like a Oklahoma North Texas game. You've seen those games where at halftime it's like 14-6, and then it ends up being 66-14.
Oh yeah.
Well, last night, Sweetwater and Breckenridge were playing each other. At halftime, it was pretty close. It ended up being 51-33, Sweetwater with a win. So, Breckenridge coming up next week. Breckenridge was able to hang with them for 3 quarters.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You see that a lot of times. A team just hangs on and they show a lot, but eventually they succumb to just, not having as much talent on the field. But Breckenridge, I think that speaks to their ability to fight, and they're not going to lay down for anybody. And that's a lesson that the Steers can learn from looking at that score, is that, these guys aren't just going to go away. You got to keep coming at them, and you can get the win, but don't expect them just to lay down and die.
This score here coming up, Vernon last night takes out Childress 41-33. Childress is in the top 20 in 2A.
Yeah.
They're in pretty good shape. Vernon 3-0, putting a lot of points up on the board, not getting a respect at all.
No.
That kind of bugs me a little bit.
Well, yeah, if you look at I don't know if you see the breakdown on there or not, but I believe Childress and Vernon were actually tied at some point, either coming out of the half or in the third quarter. They were all tied up at 27. So maybe the respect factor is coming from, you got a 3A playing a 2A, and granted they may be a really good 2A, but still 3A playing a 2A, and you're still tied at 27. I could see if it was tied, 3 or 7 or 14 or something like that, but you're tied 27 coming out of the half or going into the third, and maybe that's where the lack of respect is coming from.
Well, you got voters out there, let's say some AP voter at Corpus Christi, okay? He looks on the list of all the teams that are winning. He sees a name like Vernon, which is one of those Abilene Wylie type names.
Sure.
You
don't forget about it.
Right.
When you read it as an undefeated team, you're going to say, "Oh, Vernon, yeah, they're good again." Yeah.
Well, even though they're undefeated, they're not getting any kind of respect at all from any of the AP riders, from anybody around the area. And I'm kind of wondering what is up with that, because we know here Vernon's a good team.
I know they're dangerous. I know they have some things that they do that are very dangerous. And I don't know that they're a top 25 team, but I would put them as a top 30 team, at least. I'm not saying I wouldn't put them in the top 25, but I'd put them top 30. Now, you look at Vernon, and you wonder if there's a little stigma against something like the wing tee. The spread is so popular now, and who would have thought that veer-based offense would ever be a negative for you in Texas high school football? But do you think that people see that as gimmicky? I'm not saying I do, but I'm just saying
it's working for them.
I know it.
Yeah.
As long as you're scoring points, but nonetheless, who cares about the polls? That's for sports writers. We know. And I'm acting like I don't write for a sports page, but we know that Vernon is a good team with a lot of threats and a lot of speed, and some great behind the line of scrimmage, trickery where you don't really know where the ball's going in that wing tee offense. So I know that they're a dangerous team.
And the last game in 3A we want to talk about, Wichita Falls Hershey last night, 70, Holiday 9. Hershey 68 last week over Minnowell, 70 over Holiday. Holiday is no slouch. I know they're a 2A team. They're about in the middle of the road 2A. They're not as strong as they have in the past. But 70 points? That's 10 touchdowns,
Hershey,
boys.
how many?
Hey, for you and Brett Burnett, that means they scored 10 times.
How many points do you think all season in the last few seasons that Hershey has scored? They basically scored 70 in 2 games this year. What I'm assuming, and the coach down there, I don't know his name, but he's doing a fantastic job. What I'm assuming is they're turning these games with the number of points they're putting up. They're turning these games into track meets, and they're letting it fly. Is what I have to assume, because I just don't see how else you score 70 points in a game, against a Holiday team that, even though they're I guess a 2A, they should be able to. Let's just put it this way. Last year, I think Holiday might have beat Hershey.
Well, Hershey has scored probably. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it. They have scored more than 3 games they did all year long last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close. So
not surprised at all.
This ought to be fun, and we're going to be seeing Hershey on a Halloween night coming up. So
that's right.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Bowie over Henrietta last night, 36-10. It was Cisco, 42-14 over Comanche. Eastland Mavericks, 76 over Grandview, 64. That's like a 6-man score there. Jacksboro gets up off the mat and takes out Olney last night, 48-6 in that one. Nocona over Archer City last night, 28-8. Also last night, Albany in our area. Albany beaten Monday 48-8 last night. Monday, after they lost Mr. Paul, they have kind of fallen on hard times.
Rebuilding.
Seymour 55, Electra 35 last night. Dallas Bishop Lynch last night over Wichita Falls High 24-0. in that one. May, who is ranked in the top in class in six-man, beats Newcastle last night 46-36 in that one.
Yeah, well, Newcastle was ranked number 4 going into that game. So that was a battle of two Titans, and unfortunately Newcastle came out on the losing end. And, those six-man games, a couple of things don't go your way, and it can really hurt you, and I think that's what happened last night. Haven't got to talk with Coach Ty Spitzer over there, but I plan on getting with him, or at least getting him on the phone and kind of finding out the story of that game.
And last but not least, last night in a big anticipated battle, it was Strawn 58, Bryson 14 in that game.
Yeah, Strawn, the perennial powerhouse, just a little too much for the Bryson Cowboys.
All right, it's 8:30 or 9:30 in the morning, so I want to wrap up all the high school talk. We'll be headed, Q94.7 Graham Steers will be headed to the Breckenridge Buckaroo Stadium Friday night. You can tune that game in as the Steers and the Buckaroos will be playing, and that'll be a lot of fun getting that one going on Friday night, renewing a little bit of an older rivalry in the area. All right, college football going on.
Yes, sir.
And we've got one whale of a game taking place today at 2:30. You've got the A&M Aggies. You got the Crimson Tide rolling into Kyle Field on this one. Do you think there's any way in the world that Alabama is going to be taken by surprise by Johnny Football and the Aggies like they were last year?
I don't know that it's taken by surprise. I think personally, Manziel was just – he just beat them. I'll go back and watch the film, and he's just faster than your cornerbacks. He's faster than your fastest people on the field, and he's finding ways to get first downs against you. I think they'll have I think Alabama will have a better scheme against him defensively, but as far as him fooling anybody, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that was the case last year, and it won't be the case this year.
Now, looking at this game, here's the question of the day. Will this game decide who will be number one after today?
Well, you look at the history of the SEC holding that number one spot, and I think it will. Does it matter this early in the season? Not really. I guess it kind of matters. But my point is I think the best team from the SEC is going to hold that spot, and whoever wins this game will be crowned the best team in the SEC.
You've got right behind Alabama, you've got Oregon, Clemson, and Ohio State sitting right there behind Alabama. If Aggies give Alabama a really good game today, let's say it's a really close score, maybe just throwing something out there, 14-7.
Sure.
It's a really close score. Or if the Aggies come out with a big win in this game, how far does Alabama drop in the poll?
Not far. I don't know that they would drop out of the top 10, to be honest. People know that program, and that's one of the things that messes with the BCS, because you see bias toward programs and teams every single time someone goes down. If for instance, if your Boise States of the world go down and they're in the top 10, they disappear and you never see them on that ranking again. If your Alabamas of the world go down, people say, "Oh, it's just a hiccup and another great season for Alabama," and they don't go down. And whether that's fair or unfair, that's the way it works, and that's the reason that the BCS was made up by the 1700 kings of England that we fought so hard to gain our independence from.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Talk about the University of Texas. Joe's wearing his burnt orange shirt this morning.
And please never confuse anything I wear for burnt orange.
But he's got his burnt orange shirt this morning.
No, not burnt orange.
The president.
Saw him off.
Is it salmon? What is that?
It's anything but burnt orange.
Okay. It's salmon peach, whatever that is. University of Texas President Bill Powers comes out yesterday and says, and
"Boy, what is going on, Austin Way?"
I quote: "This is what Bill Powers, President of the University of Texas, says. Mac has my support."
Now, what you boys just heard right there was the kiss of death. Usually, anytime you get the vote of confidence or the support from the higher ups, isn't that usually a signal that they're pretty close to being on their way out?
Well, they removed Manny Diaz last week.
Yeah.
He is gone, the defensive coordinator. Greg Robinson, former Longhorn defensive coordinator, will fill the vacancy in that one. The Longhorns gave up 550 yards rushing last week, a blowout loss to BYU.
Yeah.
Texas is 1-1 on the deal. DeLoss Dodds, there's rumors that he may be stepping down at the end of the year.
From a journalism side note, can I just say, before I give the microphone back to Joe, that journalists, this guy's been asked this question. Are you in support of Mack Brown? Do you support Mack Brown by these journalists?
Well, he has to say yes.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way you can say, no, not really. We're kind of looking for something different right now. We just need a little time. So you've got to put these quotes into perspective. He's just being asked about it like crazy, and he's got to say something. So, that makes it to where what these guys say to the media is just it means absolutely nothing in real life.
Would you ask that question of let's go back to Travis just for a second. As a sports writer, would you go up to Dr. Ledbetter and say, do you have a vote of confidence? Do you have a vote of confidence in Coach Kenny? I mean, it's like,
no, I don't think so.
What's he going to do?
I mean, because you know exactly what you're going to get out of that comment. I don't like asking questions that I really know the answer to, and I don't think that makes for good stories. But you know what? What do I know? Because you see these papers that are actually making a lot of money in big markets, and they're doing that stuff all the time. And so maybe people are drawn to that. I don't know. I'm not a master of understanding the human mind, but I would rather ask something that I don't know the answer to.
Now, this is something, Joe, you can see what you think about this. This is what was asked of him. Ask if Brown needs to lead Texas to a Big 12 title to come back and head coach in 2014. Power said there will be no discussion regarding his future. Mack has my support.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think the chances that they actually come back and do anything this year are pretty slim to none. I think they probably should have made a move last year. I'm not saying that the Florida program is just really knocking it out of the water this year, but I sometimes wonder if Texas is kind of wishing that they wouldn't have let him go. You read there's a report, I think, in your hands of maybe Nick Saban sniffing around Austin this year.
Yeah,
this past week. I think Mack maybe has run his course at UT. I think, the shine of the Vince Young national championship has probably worn off a little bit. And I think some of those, you have a program, for example, in UT that is used to winning. They are the paper champions on recruitment day, and you've got a lot of high, powerful money alums that are used to winning. I mean, you're not talking about a team, for example, like my school, like North Texas, that, hey, if you win a national championship once every 10, 15, 20 years, you're good. The boosters, the alums at Texas want you to win one probably every 1 to 4 years. And so when you don't do that, and we don't even show up in some of these games like last week and some of the games last year, I'm surprised I don't think a midseason coaching change is in order, but I think you're seeing the swan song of Mack Brown here this year.
And Joe, yesterday I heard you talking about this, and you equated it to the late years of Tom Landry. Or was that someone else?
Joe has a look of, yeah, that was me.
Yeah, well, somebody, and I thought it was, it was somebody else. But anyways, I thought that was a kind of a fitting analogy. I just think, when Tom Landry was in his final years in Dallas, he was a little behind times. He didn't want to change the way he did things, and the rest of the NFL had already copied everything that he had created, and now they were advancing on that, and Landry wasn't going to change, and that made for some tough seasons. Right?
Hope we did it ever.
And I think Mack Brown is the same way. I heard a report the other day that, these SEC teams have had like a czar of recruiting, if you will, for years and years, like 5-6 years. Well, Mack Brown just got one this year. And it's like, a guy that his sole job is to, pay attention to recruiting and all of that. And I think recruiting is something that's plagued this University of Texas team, along with, developing the talent that they do have. So I just think it's a program that's behind the times, and I think Mack Brown has a lot to do with that.
I had a conversation yesterday, and I will not reveal my sources, but had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine who is associated with the University of Texas, and said that there was a sighting of Nick Saban in Austin. Now, Travis and Joe and I talked a little bit about this earlier. Why would a guy like Nick Saban, why would he want to go to the University of Texas? I mean, not saying that that's what he was in town for. You know, not saying that Nick Saban was there to take over, but why would Nick Saban, after being successful...
Why would Nick Saban do anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was successful at LSU, was successful at Alabama, taking another storied, historical-type college program and taking them to the top is the only thing I can see he would want to do.
Well, it's money, though. I mean, honestly, University of Texas has a lot more money than Alabama. It's true. It's a fact. The University of Texas has more money than any other university in the country. It's a fact. I mean, look at the numbers. Look at, I've read numerous reports on this. So, I mean, despite the football team being down, they're still making a ton off of that Texas Longhorn symbol and that burnt orange. And so if you're Nick Saban, you're thinking, I mean, this is a gold mine, that I can fall into, that's just waiting to happen for me. Because think about after I win a couple of these national championships, which at this point Nick Saban is saying, hey, this is pretty easy, because he seems to do it every year. And so even though he's the devil himself, I think if Texas wants to win national championships right now, then he's the guy to go after.
Would Saban be a good fit at the University of Texas? I mean,
I think he'd be an excellent fit, because you're in a weaker conference than you were. Nick Saban's all about, he does first of all, he does a great job recruiting, and then he has these big offensive and defensive lines, and he just punishes people. And I think that's missing in the Big 12 right now. I think it's gotten so much to the point where it's kind of finesse teams that you've lost some of that edge when you go against other teams from other conferences. You really see that hard-nosed hitting edge. I think he would bring that to the Big 12 and force other teams to adjust and make all-around football in the Big 12 better.
We're going to hear from a couple of our sponsors, come back and a little bit more college talk before we head to the pros. Stick around. You'll listen to Offsides here on Q94.7.
If creating the perfect outdoor retreat is in your future, then Cornerstone Pools is where you will find design ideas that become reality for your custom gunite pool and spa and outdoor kitchen and living areas, helping you create family fun and memories that last a lifetime. Honesty, integrity, dependability, the cornerstone of everything they do. Call 940-549-9944. Jake Womack Construction Cornerstone Pools, helping you build your dreams.
It's factory authorized clearance month at D&J's Polaris. Now's your chance to save up to $1,000 and receive 2.99% financing through September 30th. Save on Polaris Ranger, the absolute best side-by-side utility vehicles in the industry, or the Polaris Sportsman ATV. It's all waiting for you at D&J's Polaris, Southview at Elm and Graham. Now with up to $1,000 savings and financing as low as 2.99. ATVs and side-by-side vehicles can be hazardous to operate. Polaris adult models for ages 16 and over. Always wear a helmet and be sure to take a training course. Polaris ATVs and side-by-side vehicles are not intended for on-road use. Financing with approved credit.
Now, back to Offsides with Travis, Rick, and Joe on Q94.7.
All right, we're about getting ready to get into some pro football talk here in just a bit here on Offsides. We'll thank all of our sponsors, D&J Polaris, also the fine folks at Oil Pit. We've got Texoma Foam, and I guess that's it. Oh, everybody on board. So thank you. Oh, that's right. Womack Construction. Thank you so much for being with us. Last week in the game against BYU, David Ash suffered a head injury on Wednesday. He was thought to be questionable for the game today. Medical staff is waiting to see how he will respond to treatment, testing later in the week before making a decision. And Mac Brown said this week that the team feels very confident playing Case McCoy at starting quarterback against Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I think Case is going to do fine, I mean, former Graham Steer quarterback. I think we've all seen him play. We've all seen what he can do at the high school level. We've seen him have some really good college games. I remember the year when he went in and got the start against A&M, and I think their last game against each other isn't that correct?
Right.
Texas and A&M.
Yeah, Case got the last win in that game.
Yeah, so that's pretty special. But he's a guy that can come in and really play. I think a lot of people who are fans of his, especially in this area, wonder why he hasn't had more of a chance. And I think that's a valid question. I still don't think he's the answer for big time success at the University of Texas, but I think he is a solid guy to come in and play some QB.
Speaking of Case McCoy, I'm going to give a kind of a shout out here. A lot of people in Graham know Leon Speck. Mm-hmm. Leon Speck, he's kind of like a rock star here in Graham. And Leon's been really, really sick. I mean, he's really, really bad sick. He's been at home. But this last week, the Texas Longhorn football team did something for him I thought was one of the classiest things I've ever seen. Case McCoy, Leon loves the University of Texas. He's a big Longhorn fan. Case McCoy had a hat sent to Leon, had it autographed. Case McCoy signed it for him. And not only did that, they took a huge University of Texas flag. They wrote on the flag, "Stay strong." Every player on the team autographed that flag and sent Leon a special note.
Man,
and all
awesome.
they asked in return was that they get a picture of Leon with his Longhorn gear. And they got a really cool picture of Leon, had his hat on, doing the hook'em horns, had the flag spread over his bed. So,
That's
a lot
great.
of times we as sports guys, we sit there and we'll hammer a team one way or the other for what they've done or what they didn't do. There's stuff in the background that goes on like that really raises your respect level for a football team.
Sure, and you love hearing stuff. You love hearing stuff about teams. Going out of their way to help somebody that's not fortunate. They really don't have to do that, and it's not like they're going to get a bad rap for not doing it, but they do it anyway. And it's just it's a really great thing, and it makes you proud of it makes you proud of living in this country with these kind of people that, and it makes you feel like there are a lot of good people in the world.
So say a little prayer for Leon. I know he needs it from you. All right, guys, it's 9:46. We got about 15 minutes left here on the show, and I already said it Monday when Travis walked in here. I already said it Monday. I apologize. I ate the crow. Cowboys did what they had to do to win the game last week. I didn't think they could do it. I didn't think they had the horses. I didn't think Romo could handle it. I was wrong.
Hey, real quick, Rick, though, I just kind of want to ask Travis this question. This is something that's been really weighing on my mind for most of the week when it comes to football, especially the Cowboys. Is it medium rare or medium well that you like it, Travis?
That's a great question, Joe. It's actually medium rare. I like it pretty juicy and pink in the middle, but I do want some brown crust on the outside as far as the cook is concerned. So make sure we get that medium rare, juicy, pink, but still a little brown just on the outside, just the way Daddy likes it.
I've already got your steak. It's at the house. It's one of those Salisbury that come in come in the little tinfoil thing you got put in the
Salisbury steak me again, Rick. If you try to throw brown gravy on my dreams,
yes,
then
brown
we're
gravy
be
on
in
your
trouble.
dreams. Yes, your dreams are covered in brown gravy. But no, I know we got a trip to Cheddar's coming up here before too long. So yeah.
If that's the case, why don't we just X the steak and make it a buffalo wrapper? I think that'll help your wallet out. That'll make me feel good, and that's what I get at Cheddar.
Okay, I know what the main thing was. You want me to the main thing was the steak's the secondary. The main thing was you wanted me to say I was wrong. That was the main thing.
Yeah, I wanted you to say that you were wrong. Well, I wanted you to say that I was right. That's from an egotistical.
I did it once,
okay.
And I'm not doing it again.
Well, I'll tell you what. Last week was an ugly game. And this week could be even uglier. I don't know. I know that Kansas City has a really good defense, and I know that their offense can be explosive at times. They seem to have decent players all the way around. So what are your thoughts going into that one?
Low-scoring game.
Yeah.
Low-scoring game. You got two defenses. I mean, do you think the Cowboys can – do you think last week was a fluke with all the turnovers? that took place, or do you think that is something that the Cowboys created?
Well, if you're asking me if they're going to get 6 turnovers
I don't think they're going to get
every
6.
game, no, but I do think that they will at least get 1 turnover a game, at least. Now, I know that's a big thing, but I really think this defense is geared up to turn the ball over, and I think this defense can be really good if everyone can stay healthy. You look at, especially at the linebacker position, you look at Bruce Carter and Sean Lee. I love what they're doing in this defense. The secondary has to get better. The safety position has to get better because that's something this defense really relies on. You can't give up the deep balls to your Victor Cruzes of the world. Other than that, I like what the defense is doing in Graham, and I think it poses a problem for opposing teams.
Do you think that guys, with DeMarcus Ware now being able to get down, put a hand on the ground, do you think he's got a better shot at getting at the quarterback than he did running around that linebacker's position?
I think he's probably got a little bit better shot at it. One of the things that I was really impressed with last week, with the Giants and the Cowboys was just look at some of those D linemen that I think 2 of them came off the street, and people were looking at them to maybe not even compete, maybe not even start. And they stepped up and played a big role. With Anthony Spencer out right now, you have to have somebody on that other side to not make DeMarcus Ware effective, because he's going to be effective no matter what he does. But you've got to have somebody on that other side to give them cause to maybe overload over there or to pay some respect over there, or you're just going to double, triple team DeMarcus Ware or send him out in coverage, and he's not going to be as effective as he needs to. So from that standpoint, those guys that nobody knew of before the start of last week, and especially before the start of the season, big props to those guys for stepping up and helping them. 6 turnovers last week. I think they had 3 of them, and the score was still 3-0, maybe 6-3, something like that. I don't know how much Monty Kiffin's defense has caused those, or it was just dumbface Eli turning it over. The running back for New York, I think I heard this week they're taking flyers on bringing some guys in because I think he's done. Had some costly turnovers last year and proved to be 2 costly turnovers this past week. So, from a running back standpoint, what the Giants are doing, how much of it was the Cowboys, how much of it was the Giants, I think the season will tell just how strong the defense is for Dallas this year.
Well, Anthony Spencer may get a start tomorrow.
Yeah, but I think like Joe said, you have to look at the play of your Selvies and your Haydens of the world. Yeah. Selvey had a sack and a fumble recovery. Hayden was all over the place. I think forced a fumble. Those 2 guys that you've never heard of before this year that really did play well in the preseason, and you're seeing that translate to games against starting offenses, or at least a game against starting offenses. Yet to be seen if they can hold up that level of play, but it's a great thing because you knew defensive line was thin. We talked about it last week. That was kind of our story on the Cowboys is thin at defensive line, and sure enough, they come through. So
Brian Waters is supposed to start tomorrow for the Cowboys offensive line. The guy didn't play for a whole year.
Yeah,
he's sitting on the couch watching TV. Does that tell you the state of the Cowboy offensive line, that a guy that hadn't played for a whole year could come in and start?
I don't know because, from what I'm hearing from Cowboys camp, I've read a few tweets that say that Brian Waters is putting on feats of strength in the same vein as Larry Allen from back in the day.
That's amazing.
You're talking about a guy, a multi-Pro Bowler. So it's not just some guy off the street that hasn't played in a year. You're talking about a guy who went to several Pro Bowls. Now he's in the twilight of his career, if not a year where he probably thought he was done with football, coming back. But from what I've heard, is he's in excellent shape and condition. And so just letting him continue that conditioning until he's ready to go for game day. But this is his former team. He played for the Kansas City Chiefs for 10 years. If he's not going to play in this game, then he's not going to play for the rest of the season because, who else do you want to play other than your former team?
Very true on that one. One thing I want to bring up here is that Travis is a total Tony Romo lover. Yes, you are.
No, you can't.
Yes,
you can't take the microphone away from me and say something like that.
Travis
Rick.
is a total.
No, I'm just a realist.
No.
I'm a realist, and I say that. Okay, Tony Romo, he's not perfect, but he does these things well. And we have to. I mean, he's not a quarterback that needs to be throwing it 55 times a game. He needs to throw it 32 times a game, and the running game has to work. And the Cowboys can be dominant.
I'll tell you what the deal is. The whole deal is you're like a soccer mom taking up for their kid out on the field. Every time I mention one thing about Tony Romo, you go off. See,
you're talking about me right now. You're saying that I'm just, I love Tony Romo no matter what happens. All right, well, I do like the. Okay, first of all, Tony Romo has the best fourth quarter quarterback rating of any quarterback ever in the history of football. Nice. He has the best fourth quarter quarterback rating. That's pretty good. Like,
how many playoffs wins he got?
At he's got one.
Okay,
man. I mean, do you not like winning a playoff game?
No,
do you not like it?
No, what I'm saying is
you don't like winning playoff games.
I like to win more than one.
Okay, yeah.
I'd like to win more than one.
Yeah, you're right. It's just a quarter. Like, when it comes to playoffs, it's just 1 on 11, and it's quarterbacks versus defenses. And the quarterback is just, I mean, he's got to find a way to do it.
Tomorrow, they're going up against one of the better defenses.
Would you rather have Matthew Stafford?
Probably.
How big of a winner is he?
We hadn't had enough time. Romo's had forever
in the clutch.
But
how big of a winner is he?
Hang on a second, Jack. What I'm getting at here is that tomorrow Romo's going up against a way better defense than what he saw last week. And he better bring it tomorrow.
Arguable.
He better bring it tomorrow.
Linebackers.
He better bring it tomorrow. And
good safety.
They got a great defensive line too. And I think Romo tomorrow is going to struggle. That's why it's going to be a really low-scoring game tomorrow.
So